In this video, we're going to look at the true function within Excel. Now, Boolean logic is the formal description for the idea of a true and a false function. And Boolean logic is rooted in the idea of binary logic, where true equates to 1 and false would equate to 0. And the true function, when used in isolation, will simply return the result of true. But it's a very useful function when you want to return the output as true based on a criteria. Now, the true function, if it's used in isolation, is pretty useless, but we can use it as part of another function and then it can prove very useful. So let's have a look at what we've got on screen. I have a little table which has a list of branches and the number of employees in those branches. And the table to the right is going to explain some of the functions that we can use involving that true function. Now, the first function is simply the true function, and it's simply going to return us the value of true if we use it in isolation. So the formula that we'd write would be equals true and then open and close brackets or your parentheses. Now, to use a true function, we don't actually have to use the brackets. We could simply write equals true, and it's going to bring back simply the result of true. But let's have a look at how we can use the true function within an if statement. So this is going to return us the result of true based on the if criteria. So let's have a look at the formula that we want to write. And the if formula, or the if function that we want to write, is equals if B5, cell B5, which is this cell here, is greater than 30, then return the value of true. If it's less than 30, return the value of false. And the result of that formula is going to be true because cell B5 is greater than 30. And it works exactly the same for the false function as well. So if I change this number, if you keep your eye on the result cell here, if I change this number to less than 30, so if I make that 20, you'll now see that the result of that if statement has simply changed to false because it does not match the criteria that we set, and the criteria was for that cell to be greater than 30. So now we've changed it to less than 30, we get the result of false. So let's put that back to 52, so we get our true result back. Now, in logical functions, Excel is going to automatically give us the result of true or false, and I'll show you this example in the isNumber function. So, a true value will be returned if the value is a number. It's as simple as that. So the formula that we're going to write is equals, then the function of isNumber, and we're going to use the same cell again for B5. So we're saying to Excel, is cell B5 a number? And it's simply going to return us a true or false result. And we can see that our result there is true because it is a number. One thing to mention with the isNumber function is that if you have a date, Excel is going to recognize that as a number. So for instance, if this cell was a date, the result would still be true because it would see that date as a number. Okay, so to prove it, if I just write the date in here, you'll see that that is seen as a number in Excel. Okay, it's all to do with the formatting, how you read it as a date. So the result of that isNumber still remains as true. If I delete it out completely, we'll then get the result of the isNumber function is now false. So let's just put our number back in there. Now, moving down this list, logical expressions themselves will generate a true or false result. So this is exactly the same as the isNumber that we've just looked at. So if I simply write the formula of equals cell B5 greater than 50, so I'm asking, is cell B5 greater than 50? If it is, it's simply going to return us the result of true, or false if it was less than 50. So logical expressions are going to automatically generate that true or false result. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, because a true and a false statements use a binary system, we can actually use this within a formula. So true is equal to 1 in the binary system. So we could write equals true multiplied by 3, which would give us the result of 1 multiplied by 3, and the result there would be 3. And we can do exactly the same with false. So false is equal to 0. So 0 multiplied by 3 is just going to give us the result of 0. So you can simply use true and false functions within larger formulas. And remember, true is always going to be equal to 1, and false is always going to be equal to 0. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please keep an eye out on my website and my social media pages for more videos and information of when I launch new courses.